All right. Welcome, everybody. I think we'll go ahead and get started. We've got 25 minutes to pack in a lot of stuff here, so we'll get right to it. So we're going to be talking about how to build trust in relationship with your B2B and B2C customers. I'm Sam Adler. I've spent about 4 of my past years here in the security and especially IAM industry. And watching the identity management space really start to tackle a lot of interesting issues that have crept up and seeing some of the solutions that are out there as well. So we've got an amazing panel today. I'm going to have them quickly introduce themselves, and then we'll get right to it into some questions, and then hopefully we'll have time at the end for Q&A.
Thank you, Sam. Hi, I'm Gal. I'm the Chief Innovation and Product Officer at PlainID. PlainID is the authorization company. I'm happy to speak here today.
My name is Blaine Carter. I'm the Chief Information Security Officer for Franklin Covey. If you've heard of Franklin Covey, you've probably heard of books or planners, and that's not necessarily us anymore. But we do offer a digital platform now, and we're trying to transform as well into the future of online training and leadership. Oh, you got one.
Yeah, I got one. Hi all, my name is Andrea Rus. I'm the head of go-to-market for SAP Customer Data Cloud. You might know us from the GIGA days. We were acquired a year and a half ago by SAP, and I'm happy to be here today with such a great panel.
All right, great. So let's kick it off with Gal, I think. What I want, maybe if you could give us a bit of perspective around identity and access management spectrum, and tell us a little bit about your perspective on IAM and where you see things going.
Yeah, sure. So first of all, the topic of this discussion is trusted relationship, and what's IAM got to do with trusted relationship? So obviously everything, right? That's how you would gain trust, by providing the right access to the relevant people. Now, it's not only trusted relationship, but trusted relationship in the B2B use case, which means you don't only have to gain trust for your own employees within your own company, but now also with your partners and your partners' employees, your partners' customers. So I believe this is even a bigger challenge than typically it would be. So whenever we look at IAM, it is typically divided to 3 main areas. You have the identity, managing your identities, onboarding, offboarding. So now we have third party we need to manage. We have the authentication process, which is proving that identity. And then the last part, which is typically less handled, that is the authorization part, which means what can each and every one of those identities do, what function, what data is available there. This would be the 3 parts that would deliver the complete IAM solution in order to build the trusted relationship you want, not only within your organization, but obviously with your partners and with their employees. So this is how I see this challenge. To answer your question, that's my perspective. Again, when the topic which we want to focus here today, and we'll hear from those gentlemen in a few minutes, is that not only IAM needs to address our internal challenges, but now to address also the relationship that we have with our partners. And let's see how we are going to do that.
Great. And I'm going to skip over to Andrea first, just to talk about exactly what Gal was talking about. So PlainID and SAP recently announced a partnership exactly on, to address this. So maybe if you just want to give a quick background, you mentioned GIGA, maybe just kind of give a bit of background of how it all makes sense together.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you, Sam. So for those of you that didn't know GIGA, we are the leader in the customer identity and access management space in B2C, business to consumer. So we work with hundreds of global enterprises that need a proper customer identity and access management solution, so to identify, register and manage user identities along with their explicit consent. And we saw an opportunity to grow as well in the in the B2B space. I'm mentioning B2B as opposed to B2E. I think that we're going to be seeing it, but most of you already have a B2E solution in place, and you're probably looking at extending it to B2B. The challenge that we see with existing solutions in the market is that B2E solutions are not made to scale, so to ease the onboarding, offboarding, management, self-delegation that is required in a digital transformation for B2B customers. And that's why we decided to partner an OEM with PlainID, best-of-breed vendor in the authorization space, so to be able to provide consumer-grade experiences in a B2B environment. As you probably have realized, B2Bs have been slow to taking up a digital transformation, but this is now happening. We are all used to a Netflix, Uber, Lyft kind of experience, and clearly when we are working with our partners, our distributors, our suppliers, we expect this kind of relationship, we expect this kind of user experience, and that's exactly why we decided to partner together, so to provide a superior consumer-grade experience, while at the same time continuing to build trust in between B2B partners and suppliers.
So I want to delve in now to how it works, and I want everybody to be able to walk away from here with some kind of tangible things they can think about, maybe bring back to their own businesses. So we have Blaine here who can talk about some of his experiences. I'd love it if you could focus on what were the problems that you saw, and then what are you starting to do to handle some of these challenges?
Yeah, thank you. When we look at the titles here, we talk a lot about trust. At Franklin Covey, actually, we have entire divisions that have researched, market, and we sell, how to gain trust within an organization, within relationships. And it kind of cuts down into two separate things. And a lot of times, one of those two things is skipped. When you think of someone you trust in your life or a company that you trust, a lot of times you're looking at intentions. What are they going to do with your data? What would this person do if I told them a secret? But the second part of trust that is not talked about a lot is sometimes the capabilities of that person. I trust my son, but I wouldn't trust my son to drive a car because he's 10. It's not that I don't trust him with things that he can do, but the capability is not there. And so when we look at different organizations or different relationships, trust becomes kind of a two-sided coin. We have to make sure that both sides are covered. And that's some of the issues we were running up against at Franklin Covey. We historically have been a business-to-consumer type of market. About 20 years ago, we would sell planners, paper planners. You might have seen them in a boardroom or a meeting. You had that one person you knew that would pull out their planner and they would take meticulous notes. And so for a long time, that was our business model. We would sell planners, refills, direct goods to sales. But as that market kind of changed, we had to decide if we wanted to get on board with that change or if we wanted to try to hold on to the last remnants of that model. And we're actually doing a digital transformation, and we're continuing to transform. And because of that, we weren't equipped at the time to be able to handle the amount of overhead and the amount of expectations that customers have in a digital environment. It's not the same as handing someone a paper planner, patting them on the back and sending them on their way and hoping they come back in a year. They expect a constant relationship. And as we switch over to B2B, that relationship gets even more complex. Your relationship isn't just with myself to you or our company to a single user. It now has that intermediary of adding a business involved with all the compliance and regulations that comes with that, while still, like Andrea said, maintaining that smooth, frictionless interaction with them. If I were to ask for a raise of hands, I would imagine that most people would be able to say that they had an identity access management for their employees. That's becoming a pretty constant thing in this world. Almost everyone has that built in. And so they're kind of used to how that works, and it's getting very consumerable. It's very easy. You get an app on your phone that it pushes a notification to. Well, what happens when you actually go to someone else's portal that's not your company's? Somehow we're okay with it not being great experience. I'll deal with it. I'll log in 19 different times to 14 different websites. It's not good for me, but I know it's just, people have just been ingrained to dealing with it. Well, that's changing. People aren't okay with that anymore. They expect that seamless environment to work with their partners as well, to work with the people who their partners are working with. So to make a long story short, those were the kind of problems we were running into. We were looking to go from a business to consumer to business, and we want to differentiate ourselves by maintaining that trusted relationship. by focusing on the customer experience, but also while maintaining all the different complexities that come along with a business-to-business environment, the contractual obligations, the authorization, being able to delegate into that environment and allow them to do a lot of their authorizations themselves. One of my colleagues' favorite sayings is, "Ain't nobody got time for that." And when it comes to a lot of the things that we do on a daily basis, we have to examine to see if this is something that we should be doing, or if we should invest in a process or a tool that is able to take care of that for us. So I think I talked a little long there, but I hope that kind of helps kind of understand what we're looking at.
Yeah, no, it's good.
We're looking for those kind of solutions in our environment.
Absolutely, and I think if we have time, I want to come back and dig a little deeper. Blaine actually has an engineering background as well. I don't know how deep we want to go, but I think people will probably appreciate a little more detail on what we're doing. But maybe before we do that, Andrea, if you want to talk about maybe some of the other verticals and a few other use cases. I mean, we've got Franklin Covey that he mentioned, but this whole new paradigm of focus on authorization. How are you seeing others use this and the issues they're having and what they're doing to solve?
Yeah, well, we're seeing more and more enterprise customers that have similar issues that Franklin Covey has experienced, and we're helping them overcoming these issues. And when you look at what are these issues, it's really, first of all, how easy it is to onboard and then offboard new partners, them being suppliers, distributors, or others, how to manage these organizations, how to allow for self-administration so that our customers don't have to spend time and precious resources in managing third parties. And this is really applicable to all industries. We have customers in the CPG space, which are using us to manage their suppliers and distributors in a more efficient manner. We have a lot of opportunities and customers actually also in the pharma space. So we're looking at how to extend to hospitals, procurement teams, for example, the ability to access specific pharma applications or services. We're seeing examples, excuse me, in the likes of discrete manufacturing. So saying you're providing a great product to the market and you have third-party companies that provide support and service your machinery and tools. Well, as opposed to be training them or giving them, what is important to do is to give them access to your mission-critical applications so that they can be performing to the best of their capabilities while on the field. And this needs to be done in a proper manner, which allows for, as we said, the seamless experience, consumer-grade experience, while at the same time maintaining all of the security and governance that allows your business to run in a risk-free environment. So, yeah, we're seeing this trend in all industries, really. Some industries are more dynamic or pioneering than others. Say banking could be very slow in terms of uptake, but we're also seeing an increase and an acceleration there. So it's an exciting time. It's an exciting time because we're seeing that the way we work, all of us in this room, with our partners, with our customers, with our suppliers, we want a more agile way of working, which is at the same time secure, and that's exactly what we bring to market.
So awesome. Let's go back to Blaine, and now let's maybe dig a little deeper into the solutions that you guys are starting to implement. I mean, look, I know some of you guys I know some of you guys, but maybe let's not do too many acronyms, but let's get some meat that people can walk away with and just get an understanding of how you're solving for these. What maybe talk about the experience that users have and how the business side maybe works with the IT side as well. I know this is questions that I've gotten a lot, and then we'll wrap up, and then we'll have some time for questions.
Perfect. No, that's great. Like Sam said, I come from an engineering side, so I apologize if I dive a little too deep, because that's kind of where I nerd out. I get really excited about the technical details are what excite me. So when we were looking at this problem, we actually were looking at 3 different problems we were trying to solve. And I'll kind of go briefly through those so you can kind of maybe see if they line up a little bit with some of the problems you're seeing. One was that we're not able to keep all of the risk within our company anymore. As we look at the different providers of IT as well as other providers, it's not that you can buy enough firewalls to enclose all of your risk anymore. It used to be that you'd buy really good firewalls or really good perimeter defenses and keep all the good stuff, all the the GUI center inside of that. But now we're trusting more and more partners with more and more information, whether it's a cloud infrastructure or a software as a service, or if someone's hosting your email. We're not able to keep all of that inside our perimeter anymore. And so one of the problems we're trying to solve is how do we manage that risk from a vendor perspective? Vendor management's become a huge problem within cybersecurity. How to make sure that your third-party risk is being addressed. And so that was one of the things we were looking at. How do we take that and authorize certain amounts of information to certain amount of vendors? How do we ensure that what they say they're doing, that we are able to follow up and keep that relationship trusted both ways? The second problem we were looking at was our downstream business partners that sell on behalf of us, like a franchisee or a licensee partner. We sell in about 120 different countries worldwide, and so we have quite a few partners out there that sell on our behalf. And that relationship is very different for different countries. And so in order to manage the users on that side, try thinking of this. If you had to try to manage your own company while trying to manage the users within 120 different partners, while not having very good visibility into what those partners were doing from a hiring, from a firing perspective, that's a different entity, it's almost overcoming, to even try to wrap your arms around that. And that was one of the issues we were running into, is how do you make sure that if you give access to one of your systems to a partner, whether it's a CRM solution, tie into your ERP, a partner portal, that user still works there in 6 months? Or what if they belong to 2 different partners? How do you make sure that they don't leak into a third, that you're not getting this cross-contamination? It's a really big problem from a governance perspective, and so that was the second problem we were trying to solve. The third one was we sell a lot to big companies. Large organizations will buy our products. For us, it's online training and coaching, and we'll use that in order to provide that service to their employees. Again, the larger your customer base gets, think of the amount of user management that has to happen. To make that a seamless experience is a top priority for us. We can't have it be clunky and disjointed. People are used to that consumer-friendly, easy-to-use experience, and so we tried to capture these 3 problems as kind of what we are looking to do in a business-to-business or business-to-partner type of solution. And these are the kind of the problems that we're approaching PlainID and SAP to try to solve. We're also looking at reducing our tool count. In cybersecurity, there's a joke that for every problem, there's a new tool to buy. And so I don't know if you guys see this in other industries, but if there's a problem out there, you can guarantee that someone has a separate and discrete tool that will solve your problem. If there's a subset of that problem, another company will have that tool just for this one problem. But what happens is you have to then have all of these tools. One of the big things we're pushing for in our organization is to reduce that proliferation of problem per tool, to look for places you can maybe unify and come up with a strategy that makes it easy to manage multiple problems with a single set of well-architected, standardized tools. And so those are kind of the 3 things that we're looking to dive into. I don't know how much more detail you'd like, but I can go into APIs and I'll throw as many acronyms out as you want.
So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to have Gal just kind of maybe wrap up, give you some takeaways, and you guys, let's see how deep you want to go. I'll open up. We'll have about 5 minutes left for questions. You guys want to go deep? Let's go deep. If not, we can keep it at this level and give some more examples and stuff.
Okay. I believe we all understand that building trusted relationship with our B2B partners is crucial. This is something we must address, not something we can put aside, and it presents an even bigger challenge for our IAM efforts, right? It's not like the traditional basic IAM. We have more that we should handle, more that we should take care. And I want to take on what you just said, that we can't tie together all kinds of tools, but we need to find a solution that would provide all the relevant aspects of building that trusted relationship with our B2B partners and customers. So what are the important aspects? What should you be looking for? You spoke about the challenges. I'm going to speak about the solutions, okay?
Thank you.
Okay, so first of all, you need something that can manage the life cycle of your partners and customers, right? How are you doing that today? Maybe in a CRM system, maybe in Excel sheets, emails, I don't know. Everyone has its own solution, but you need some kind of a way that can manage that life cycle. You need then the ability to have those definitions visible for you, for your business partners, and to be able to control those definitions. Who are the partners I'm working with? I'm enabling them access to my data, to my application, to my data portal. Okay, so first of all, lifecycle management for your partners. Second, ability to control that type of access. And the third thing, I believe this is very important, to be able to share responsibility with your business partners and customers. Why do you want to do that? Because you know about your applications, about your assets. You don't know about the employees of your partners. That's their responsibility, right? They are the ones who are managing their employees. So it needs to be a shared responsibility kind of solution. You need to be able to delegate some of the administrative rights to your partners and to your customers. And that would be your classical, or what I believe optimal, identity and access management solution to be able to manage efficiently your partners and your customers. This is actually what we are speaking here together, providing both the identity management, managing the life cycle of the identity, managing the authentication process, and authorization on the identity management side, but on top of that, full life cycle management support for your customers, for your partners, and the ability to delegate some of the administrative rights for your partners and customers. Okay, and that is what I believe you should be looking for when you want to build those trusted relationships with them.
Great.
Okay.
Questions? Yeah.
For partner onboarding.
Yeah.
For partner onboarding, do you think identity proofing is needed?
Okay, I can take that. Okay, so it's basically, it depends on the level of assurance you would want to achieve with your partners. Are you willing to accept someone who's coming with his Facebook credentials? Would that be okay if you just want to register the details and you want to use that later maybe for marketing purposes? Then maybe that's okay. But if it is to enable access to actually your services, your internal assets, then no. You would need a higher level of assurance in order to provide that type of access. So.
But we found it very difficult to do the real identity proofing because we never see them. They are across the globe.
Okay.
You know, so I mean, we can using the online tools, but normally they don't really provide sensitive user information to us. So I don't know how you solve that problem.
Just as you were saying, that's a huge problem because you don't have direct access to them. You're not able to validate that the person that has signed up is also the person that you intend to give that information to. And that's one of the problems we also ran into, that we have to rely on that third-party person because when we look, there's usually a point of contact within that partner that is able to help provide some of that assurance. So you might not know, and I might not know, but someone does, and we can build workflows to allow that to follow through. And so if it's an approval matrix or something like that where you can actually have someone that's able to say, yes, I verified that John is the person that signed up. He's the person that I intended to give access to, and can do that. And that delegation can go down as deep as it needs to until you're able to get that assurance that you need. Does that help? Does that answer your question? Or I'm happy to talk with you afterwards if you have more questions.
It's also a question about shared responsibility, as Gal was saying. So it's you need to work with your partners, for your partners to take responsibility of their own employees. So that's really where we're coming from. Was another question?
Well, that's why ExoStar exists and is so expensive. They do that proofing and vetting for you. Who owns the identity in this case, and who they bring their own identity, and they're onboarded through that process, and they use a federation to get into the assets that they need. As far as delegating authentication and doing some of this low-level identity proofing, there's an API to do that. Okay, so we have problems where we need to onboard these types of entities, and when they get onboarded, they get sacked with all kinds of compliance training. So it's a non-starter for some partners. So if we could avoid owning the identity, this solves that problem for us. So that's possible in this case. We don't have anything to do with the identity, doesn't touch our directory, not a Johnson & Johnson employee.
Yeah, so again, it's a matter of how you would want to customize this solution. In some cases, you want to own the identities because you want to hold the consent of those identities. You don't want to rely on external federated sources. So this would be one type of solution. But if you have that type of relationship with your partners where you can rely, you want to federate to their identity sources, you're saying they own their identities, I'm just using those identities, then this is a second configuration which you can use. So it really depends on the type of relationship you have with your partners. Maybe for a random partner, you can't use federation. You want to own the identities. You want to have the consent. You need the information. So it really, like I said, really depends on how you would want to.
We have every use case imaginable.
Exactly.
All right.
Thank you.
If anybody wants to ask additional questions, feel free to come up. We'll be here for a few more minutes. We've got a booth as well, PlainID, where SAP is also at our booth. Also, just last thing, I handed out to some of you guys, we're actually having a party tonight. It's about a 5-minute walk from here with cool craft cocktails and heavy appetizers. There's a QR code, or just bring your badge. We can scan you in there. If you didn't get one of these, come grab it. And we'll hopefully see you at our booth or see you tonight. And thanks for coming. This is great.
Thank you.
Thank you.